Have you ever lost something that wasn't yours to lose? I'm not talking about keys or wallets or that one sock that disappears in the dryer, probably living its best life somewhere in the multiverse. I'm talking about a memory, a moment that belonged to someone else, entrusted to you, and you let it slip through your fingers like sand. This is the story of how I became a thief of forgotten things, and how an old woman with empty pockets taught me that the most valuable treasures are the ones we give away. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the day I found the shop. I was 26, professionally lost, personally broke, and spiritually running on fumes. My grandmother had just passed, my Nana, the woman who raised me when my parents couldn't, who smelled like cinnamon and knew all the constellations, who used to say that lost things find their way home if you leave the light on. I was supposed to be sorting her house. Instead, I was wandering. The street appeared between a closed bakery and a bookstore that only sold poetry. I swear it hadn't been there yesterday. Cobblestones, gas lamps, the kind of autumn afternoon that makes you believe in magic even when you're too old for it. And there, tucked between buildings that leaned together like whispering friends, was a shop with no name, just a window, filled with jars. Hundreds of them, thousands, glass containers of every size, glowing with soft, shifting light. Some pulsed like heartbeats, others shimmered like heat waves. Inside each one, I could see something, movement, color, stories waiting to be told. The door opened before I touched it. The woman behind the counter was ancient in the way oak trees are ancient, permanent, patient, amused by time. Her hair was silver wire coiled in a bun. Her eyes were the color of old photographs. She wore an apron with infinite pockets, and from each pocket peeked the handle of a jar, a cork, a label waiting to be written. "You're late," she said. I didn't know I had an appointment. Not an appointment, an inheritance. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a key, heavy iron, familiar. Your grandmother was my best customer. 40 years of deposits, never made a withdrawal, left it all to you. I took the key. It was warm, humming slightly, like a cat's purr. "What is this place?" I asked. The old woman, Miriam, I would learn, spread her hands to encompass the jars, the glow, the impossible shop. "The memory exchange," she said. "People bring me moments they can't carry anymore. Joy too heavy, grief too sharp, love that lingers like smoke. I bottle it, keep it safe, and sometimes," she tapped a jar that glowed golden, "someone else needs exactly that moment to survive their own." She reached into her infinite apron and pulled out a jar the size of my heart. Inside, a summer afternoon swirled. Green grass, children's laughter, the specific gold of late light through maple leaves. "Your grandmother's first deposit," she said. "Age 19. The day she decided to keep you, before anyone knew you were coming, before she knew if she could. She bottled her certainty so she'd never lose it." I held the jar. Through the glass, I felt warmth, not just temperature, intention, love made tangible. "Why would anyone give this away?" I whispered. Miriam smiled, the kind of smile that has witnessed 10,000 heartbreaks and still believes in mourning. "Because sometimes," she said, "carrying everything breaks you, and because," she gestured to the shelves, the glowing inventory of human experience, "a memory shared is a burden halved and a joy doubled. Your grandmother understood. She gave away her fear so it wouldn't become yours, gave away her loneliness so you'd never feel it, kept only enough to remember who she was." She placed a hand on my shoulder. Her touch was paper and starlight. "And now, Elias, you have a choice. You can take your inheritance and walk away, 40 years of moments, yours to keep, or," her eyes held mine, "you can learn the trade, become a curator of forgotten things, help others carry what they cannot carry alone. I looked at the jars, at the key, at the space where my grandmother's certainty still glowed, waiting. I thought of all the people I'd passed on the street that day, the man crying on the bus, the child with 2 old eyes, the woman laughing too loud at her phone, desperate to believe the person on the other end was still there. "Teach me," I said. The apprenticeship was impossible and ordinary. Miriam taught me that memories have weight, not physical, though the jars were heavy with significance, but emotional density. A first kiss weighs less than a last goodbye. A childhood humiliation can crush a grown adult. A moment of pure, unearned kindness, lighter than air, but it anchors you to the world. I learned to read the glow, blue for grief, gold for joy, green for growth, red for rage, purple for the particular ache of things unsaid. I learned that colors blend, that no memory is pure, that the most beautiful jars held the most complicated feelings. But mostly, I learned to listen. People came to the memory exchange for 1,000 reasons. The widow who couldn't sleep in her bed because it still held the shape of her husband. The athlete who'd lost their leg and couldn't look at trophies without screaming. The parent who loved their child so fiercely it was becoming fear, becoming control, becoming something that would break them both. They would sit in Miriam's velvet chair, my chair eventually, and they would talk, and I would hold the jar, ready, waiting. "Tell me about the moment," I'd say. Not the whole story, just the moment, when you knew, when it changed, when you became someone new. And they would reach into themselves, these strangers, and pull out their most private treasures. The time their mother sang them to sleep at age 30, both of them knowing it was the last time. The sunrise they watched alone on a mountain, certain they would die, certain they wanted to live. The stranger's smile in a hospital waiting room that said, "I see you. I see your pain. You are not invisible." I would bottle it, label it, add it to the shelves, and they would leave, lighter, not empty, never empty, just able to breathe again. But here was the miracle, the thing I didn't understand until I'd been working for months. Those memories didn't stay trapped in glass. They waited. They called out to the people who needed them. The young woman came in October, rain against the windows, the shop smelling of cinnamon because Miriam had baked cookies, because Miriam was always baking cookies for people who needed to be mothered. She was maybe 20, dressed in clothes that said, "I stopped caring what I looked like 3 months ago." Her hands shook. Her eyes were bruised with sleeplessness. "I can't feel anything," she said. "I know I should be sad. My sister died. But I'm numb. I'm broken. I was supposed to protect her and I couldn't, and now I can't even cry. And I think," her voice cracked, "I think I died too. I think I'm dead and no one noticed." Miriam looked at me. A question, a test. I'd been apprenticing for 8 months. I'd bottled hundreds of memories, but I'd never made a withdrawal, never reached for someone else's moment to heal a stranger's wound. I walked the shelves. The jars glowed, whispered, waited, and then I saw it. Blue and gold, grief and joy so intertwined they made green, made growth. A label in my grandmother's handwriting. The morning after, when I thought I couldn't survive, and then I did. I took it down, held it to the light. "Your sister," I said to the young woman. "Tell me her name." "Lily." "Lily." I unscrewed the jar. The scent of that morning escaped, coffee and rain, and the specific silence of a house that should hold 2 people, but only holds 1. This isn't your memory. It belongs to someone who lost someone, who thought she couldn't survive and did, who wants you to know that numbness isn't brokenness. It's your heart protecting itself while it learns to beat differently. I held out the jar. "You don't have to carry this forever. Just borrow it, just for now. Let someone else's survival teach you that yours is possible." She drank it. That's the only word. She tilted the jar like water, like wine, like medicine, and the memory flowed into her. And she cried. Finally, fully, the tears she'd been hoarding like a miser. She cried for her sister, for herself, for the unfairness and the continuation and the terrible, beautiful persistence of being alive when someone else is not. When she left, hours later, she was still sad, but she was sad and alive. Two things, not zero. Miriam embraced me. She smelled like flower and eternity. "Your grandmother," she said, "would be so proud. You didn't just inherit her memories, Elias. You inherited her understanding that the only thing we truly own is what we give away." I've run the memory exchange for 5 years now. Miriam still bakes cookies, still advises, still reaches into her infinite pockets for exactly the right jar at exactly the right moment. But the chair is mine, the listening is mine, the weight and the wonder of it. I've learned that everyone is carrying too much. Everyone has moments that cut, that burn, that freeze. And everyone has moments of such unexpected grace that they can't believe they deserve them. My job, the job my grandmother prepared me for without knowing it, is to help people sort, to hold what they cannot hold, to remind them that joy kept secret turns to sorrow, but grief shared becomes bearable, becomes connection, becomes the thread that stitches us all together. The shop still appears between the bakery and the poetry store, still finds the people who need it, still glows with the collected light of human experience, waiting to warm whoever walks through the door. And me? I still have my grandmother's jar, the one with her certainty, her choice to keep me before anyone knew I existed. I keep it on the counter, where the light catches it, where customers ask about it. I tell them the story. I tell them about inheritance, about the things we pass on without knowing, the love that outlives us, the memories that become other people's salvation. And then I ask, what are you carrying? What can you afford to set down? What can you share? Because that's the lesson, if you need one. That's the truth that took me too long to learn. We are not storage containers meant to hoard our experiences like dragons on gold. We are rivers, we are currents. We are meant to flow, to connect, to carry each other's boats when the water gets rough. Your joy becomes someone else's courage. Your survival becomes someone else's roadmap. Your grief shared becomes proof that they are not alone in theirs. So if you're watching this and you're heavy, if you're carrying something that feels like it will break you, I want you to imagine a shop with no name. Imagine shelves of glowing jars. Imagine that somewhere, someone has survived what you're surviving. Imagine that their memory is waiting for you, ready to be shared, ready to light your way. And then imagine that you have something to share too, something that seems small to you, but might be everything to someone else. The way you survived that Tuesday, the song that got you through, the stranger's kindness you never forgot. Don't keep it in the dark. Don't let it turn to burden. Pass it on. Bottle it up. Leave the light on. We're all just walking each other home.